The information expressed in the following podcast is intended for educational purposes only and was created by and belongs solely to Believe Limited and the Flow podcast and does not necessarily reflect the views of our sponsors. Please speak to your healthcare provider before making any medical decisions.
Hi, I'm Jessica and welcome to Flow. I'm here like every month with Sarah Watson, sex therapist, and this month we have Jennider Eden flowing with us. She's been on the forefront of creating sustainable menstrual care, and we're going to hear all about her brand Tampon Tribe, but first, we want to know, how's your flow? Welcome once again to Flow. We start off with a quick check-in to normalize the reality of menstruation. We're just going to ask, hormonally, menstrually, how are you flowing today? Sarah?
Yeah, so I think I'm luteal. You know, our listeners know that I have a lovely IUD, but I can feel the hormone shifts. So it's been a little cranky around these parts. It was a bit of a morning here in Detroit, but hopefully getting through it. So what about you, Jess?
I mean, there's plenty to be cranky about, quite frankly.
Really?
I'm luteal. I'm proudly luteal right now. But I'm feeling okay. I had a root canal, so that's sort of taking over my menstrual experience.
Oh, wait, when?
Yeah. 2 days ago.
Wow.
It was a different kind of pain than menstrual pain, but it was pain.
It was bad.
Cool. I learned some things. Jennifer, how are you flowing with us? How are you flowing? Where are your hormones at?
My hormones are on the up and up right now. So I am just coming off my flow into my follicular phase. So estrogen is up, energy is up. And, you know, I'm in that lovely phase of life where my period comes and goes. One day it's every month. Yeah, or not. Maybe every 2 months. Or not. Who knows? It's just a surprise at all times. So tracking it's really interesting.
Oh, wow. So you live in a mystery.
I do.
You live in a world of unknowns, but anything can go anyway. You're feeling good, though. Follicular is the best time to feel ready to share about the things going on, the things that you've been blooming, you've been gardening in your life. We're going to hear all about it. But first, we're going to take a quick break and hear from our sponsor.
This ad is brought to you by Von Vendi, Von Willebrand Factor Recombinant.
Hi, my name is Nicole. I didn't always feel empowered to speak up for myself or ask for the care and support I needed. Becoming part of a community and hearing other people's experiences helped to change my perspective. That's why my deciding factor is making my voice heard. To hear my story and access other helpful resources, drop by Von Vendi, that's VONVENDI.com/patient-stories.
We're back. And Jennifer, we're so excited to talk about Tampon Tribe. But first, can we just talk about your periods a little bit more? You just mentioned where you're at now, but what was your very first period like?
A little bit of a surprise was my very first period. I recall being on a 6th grade excursion. I don't know if it was my first period, but it was my first period memory, you know, where you think, oh, my period's over. I'm there. I was wearing brown corduroy pants, showing my age. They were very, very cool. And I'm like, what is happening? I'm like, oh my gosh. Period. How is this possible? I thought I just had it. Like, you know, you're learning how this is impacting your body. And I had to tell my best friend. Now, in Australia, at that time, particularly, you don't talk about anything. But I had to say I have my period. I had to ask my teacher. She's like, I don't know. And she's like in the bus, like in the first aid kit, trying to, you know, get a pad or something. Oh, my goodness me. But then I remember thinking, like, this should be something we're talking about a bit more. Like, no big deal. Like, I'm nearly 13. You know, this is normal. You know? But it was a little bit of not embarrassing, but a confronting situation when your body changes at that age, right? Like, and nowadays it's happening to young people a lot younger than 12 and 13. So, yeah. And I also recall wearing, you know, those thick, heavy pads for like one period, and like, that is it. Like, telling my dad, this is not, there's got to be something else out there. Let's go to the store. And he's like, okie dokie. And like, you know, looked at the tampons. I'm like, that sounds like that will be much more successful for me. So
Jumped
they're my
right
earliest
into
memories.
tampons. Wow.
Yeah. Well,
So
I played tennis as well. Like I
okay.
was pretty active, and wearing like a diaper, I'm like, this is not going to fly. Like, and I
No.
still to this day, I know we sell a lot of pads. It's
Yeah.
a very popular product. For me, maybe it's my anatomy, not for me.
Yeah.
It's wonderful that there are options now. Variety is key for different bodies. There's different needs. But wait, I'm stuck on this fact that first aid kits don't usually contain menstrual care.
I know. I
huh?
was thinking, oh my gosh, I was thinking the same exact thing. Like, was there a pad in
Mhm.
the first aid kit? Oh, there was.
Yeah.
Was that an Australia thing? Was there always? Have you been familiar with that to be the case? That there are always pads in first aid kits? They're not here. That should happen here. There should be
happen here.
pads.
Yeah, I mean, particularly tampons, because you can use them for a lot of things.
Yeah.
They're very handy.
Nosebleeds. Mhm.
Nosebleeds, water filtration.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I don't know why. Who do we talk to? Who makes first aid kits? That's something that could that's a weird consumer product thing to integrate.
Good old
That feels
Johnson
like it'd
and
be easier than
Johnson,
laws.
right? Yeah.
But
Okay.
here's the thing too: if it's a chemical-laden tampon, you don't want that filtering your water
No.
or putting on your first aid, or actually
Right.
putting inside your body. Now, come to think about it.
Yeah. Mm.
So, right. Interesting. Wow. The tampon has multiple uses, but only if it's as helpful for any like
Right.
membranes as it is. Not harmful as it is helpful.
Mm.
Okay, so Australia had pads in their first aid kits. What was Australian schooling menstrual education
Was
like?
there education in Australia about menstruation?
In Australia, when I grew up, there definitely was education. Fourth grade, which I think you're 8, 9, 10 years
9. Yeah.
old. That middle, what you do middle school here, I guess. We had books, we had classes, very openly spoken about, and that's some time ago. I've just turned 50, so back then, in the early 80s, there was definitely the classes there, very open. You had like this little series of books, which I think they still have. Where do I come from? And my body is changing. And so we had those when I was in school. Yeah. And then we had a class. I remember the class, and parents could come if they wanted. It was after school, so parents could come if they wanted. So pretty open. And I'm from a pretty open family as well. Like, we talked about it. Kind of. There were books on the shelf if you wanted to read about it. And from what I understand, I don't have kids, but my nephew, who's 11, he's going through that now. My brother was telling me, like, they've got the sex eds classes, they've got the my body is changing classes. So it definitely is still like that in Australia.
Oh, that's amazing. We have none of that here.
Really?
Well, we have like a puberty class, but there's no little cute booklets. There's no after school for the fam unless you pay for it, right? And that's by like a private physician that's going to be offering those classes. Yeah, it's a hot dumpster fire here in the States. It's what we like to call it. So,
Yeah,
Mhm.
hellscape. A
Hellscape.
hellscape that we survive. We get to survive.
yeah. Yeah.
Which is why we try to take the best care of ourselves as we can, because we know that healthy selves is going to help us fight the hellscape. So what can we do to make sure that what we're doing to care for our menstruation is the right thing for our bodies? We need to be aware of what we're using, aware of what products we use with our bodies, and something like Tampon Tribe and your products have taken that into such consideration. I know you've answered this a lot, but what's in your tampon?
Our tampons have one ingredient. We only use GOTS and ICEA certified organic cotton.
Amazing.
That's it.
That's it.
And the reason we did that is it actually came through my journey going through endometriosis. So even in Australia, that was something you didn't really speak about. I don't even think I even spoke about it ever. It's like, you have the pain, the doctor says that's what you've got, the end. Like, deal with that. That's it. Take the tablet, or be on birth control for your whole life. Like, no, I don't think so. So take the tablet for the pain every month, the end. And then it was only, about 8 years ago, I'm like, wait, there has to be more to this, right? And I started thinking, we put organic stuff all over our bodies, what we eat. What about our period products?
Yeah.
How had I not considered this in the past? And so I actually got some products from Europe flown into the US when I was here, and all GOTS and ICEA certified organic cotton. Tried them. 0 period pain since. 0. So I went from the doubling over in pain, like literally in the middle of the night, like feeling like someone's stabbing you with forks and knives, to eating like a banana and having these tablets to just stand up. And that was monthly for me. And it was just part of my life. It's part of millions and millions of people's
Right.
lives.
Right. Oh my God. It's
Millions.
ridiculous.
And no
Yeah.
one had ever said, what's in your period product?
Yeah.
What's in your tampon? What? So you go through that realization. And so we created Tampon Tribe.
And even if you ask what's in it, sometimes they don't tell you.
Right.
So you do have a wonderful model of integrity and authenticity. What does authenticity mean to
Yeah,
you?
authenticity is
Yeah.
everything for us. It's where I am in my personal journey in life, being authentic, being honest about everything, being truthful when you can, as much as you can. We all lie to ourselves a little bit, but when it comes to product,
So that's so honest of you.
Yeah.
how refreshing. When it comes to period products, for example, there are no regulations that you need to state what's in your tampon or what's in your pad. Most companies do. However, most of us don't read that. Pick
Right.
up your packet of pads, look at the ingredients, you may die, like I did. I had never looked at those. When did you last pick up the packet of pads and look at your ingredients?
Well, and it's interesting. I recently did an allergy test and found out I'm allergic to eucalyptus, and I'm sharing that just to be like, that's something used so often in wellness and support things. That's something that can be good
Right.
for you, but not for
Not for
me. So
you.
looking at ingredients is very important, let alone if there's chemicals that I might be sensitive to that I'm not aware of.
That's
Starting
sitting
by just looking.
right, and then sitting
Yeah.
in your mucous membranes for up to 7 days.
Mind-blowing. And it's not just some chemicals.
Right.
Aluminum, heavy metals, arsenic, lead. You've got all your PFAS, your plastics, your microplastics. People put titanium dioxide on tampons to make them whiter. They put paraffin wax inside your body, made from petroleum. Like, what is going on and why? So all these things. So when you start learning about this, first of all, it's this huge realization, like, oh my goodness.
Yeah. Yeah.
I've been doing this for my whole life. Wait. And then it's like, okay, what can I now do to make this a little bit better? How can I improve this within my means? How can I improve this? Or at least how can I be cognizant and
Right.
acknowledge what I'm putting in on my body and then make the choice? I mean, it's just about an informed choice, in my opinion, right? So yeah, we are also plastic free. And vegan and hypoallergenic. So we do all the things.
Love
Because that's
that.
very important to me.
Listen, and it's so interesting to make sure it's not to be alarmist if someone is using a tampon that has these things in it. People also eat Doritos or McDonald's or things that aren't necessarily food, but their bodies survive it. It can happen. It's about making the choice that's best for your body, being aware of what you're sensitive to.
Yeah.
And being aware that maybe a excessive amount of tampon use, if aluminum is present, if you're using more tampons than the average person, then the impact might be more significant on your membranes.
Right.
Extreme period care, as you mentioned with endometriosis. Wow. Any other, like when you say the cotton helped so much, was there any other treatments you were doing or doctors that were supporting your journey at all?
And I don't think there normally isn't, right? It's a problem where you just on your own or you get given a drug. And that's not for me. Not for me. No way when it was suggested early on, like, just be on birth control forever. I'm like, sorry, what? You want me to put a chemical in my body forever? And I'm like, this doesn't sit well with me. No. And it might sit well with someone else. Absolutely. No problem. That is everyone else's choice, but for me, it wasn't an option. And I'm a big natural person, but just like you said, Jess, like you've got to have a look at natural additives too. So you have period care that might have herbs, that might have fragrances. Now, some bodies are fine with that. Some bodies are definitely not so fine with that, so it's just learning your body a little bit, knowing what works for you and then deciding, hey, am I having any adverse reaction? How's my endocrine system reacting right now? Am I going through infertility? And it's really interesting. And I actually have a lot of guys come out and say, you know what, as a couple, we are going through infertility. And there's got to be something more to this. Tell me about what's in tampons. And then I talk about the chemicals. They're like, wait, what?
Yeah.
Not to say that changing to totally organic is going to impact that, but give it a go. At least give it a go, at least take these chemicals out of your body. And then different organic certifications mean different things too. So you can really nerd out on that. Yeah.
You started Period Tribe with your best friend, Gabby? Or a friend, Gabby? Can we hear a little bit about the origin story? I would love to hear. I was like, I love two women starting a company. Like, tell me all about it.
Yeah, sure. So Gav and I actually started working together in Beijing in China. So Gab's from Brazil. I'm from Australia. And we teamed up in Beijing. I was actually a broadcaster at that time, and she had a restaurant. And I was doing some marketing. So I'm like, let's blow this restaurant up. And we did. And not literally, not figuratively. Wait, the other way around. Figuratively, not literally. So nothing actually blew up.
That's hilarious.
So we teamed up, and that restaurant did very well. And then we decided to run more businesses together. So we actually had 5 restaurants and businesses in Beijing in China.
Wow.
And then we ended up, circumstances, turn of events, ended up in LA for a project. And when that didn't happen, thought, you know what, we've been in China for a long time, learn a lot, great place to, cut your teeth in business. Well, we've been in business for a long time, individually and then together. Let's do something impactful that we care about. Let's save the planet, whatever we can with our, resources. And we're very fortunate to be in that situation, to have a little bit of business acumen to say what's missing. And this personal drive came in from my journey, and we were literally at Whole Foods in Venice. And I'm like, why can't I buy these tampons here? And if I can't buy these tampons here in one of the most organic, healthy-ish places in the US, what about everybody else? Where's their access? So how do we then perhaps see if this is going to work? We started Tampon Tribe with just tampons, with a Indiegogo campaign and a little bit of spruiking around, like, going to events. And we saw there was really great product market fit, and that people were also seeking transparent, authentic products, even if they did not have endometriosis. People don't want to put chemicals in or on their bodies. And so the company started from there. And we did it part-time while doing a million little things, driving Ubers and delivering pizzas. And this is in our 40s, It's not like we're sleeping on a futon in our 20s. This was in our 40s. But we really believed in this mission. And it's also plastic-free, and we're huge kind of earth warriors. We both grew up on the ocean and really were very worried about the use of single-use plastics here in the US. We'd see these applicators, like plastic applicators on the beach. Apart from being gross, it's like, wait, what? Why are there plastic applicators?
Right.
Why? What does that also bring to a product? Plastic leaches. So what is the plastic bringing to a tampon and bringing to a pad? So Tampon Tribe was born, and now we're the only US company that only uses GOTS and ICEA or certified organic cotton, and is totally plastic free. And we won't compromise on that. Yeah.
Yeah, compromise is not always the answer. That is wonderful to hear. I'm so amazed at you running this business so prior to Tampon Tribe. You were running how many businesses with endometriosis? Yes. You were running how many businesses while being a menstruator? Yeah. I mean, it's very inspiring that you two were taking over some amount of acclaim. Yeah. How? How?
You just do what you got to do, right? You get on. You get on and make things happen. Life's short. We have pretty good go-get-'em attitudes, I guess, Well, of course, we go through real life world events and our own personal struggles. It's a bit of a, not a blessing's the wrong way, but wrong word. But I always see, today is a new day. It's not toxic positivity. Sometimes borders on that. But most of the time, it's pretty genuine.
Hey, at least you're recognizing sometimes it can be a little dicey, but that's great. Yeah, I love
Just
that.
keep believing.
Oh.
But most of the time, we run a very serious business, but we also enjoy life. We don't take it too seriously. And that's kind of at the core of what we do. We have a tampon business. Come on. You got to laugh at yourself a little bit. So we try to, while we navigate a very serious side of health, a serious side that these large companies put toxins in their products and they know it. Right.
And it sounds from listening to you like you're helping the consumers who turn to you have some self-discernment, which is hard because medical literacy is not taught to us. Everyone has to be on their own journey of understanding their own body and what it means to hear words that describe a diagnosis, for example. But to have the discernment to not just take any advice, but to actually do the research for yourself.
Yes.
You're educating people online with what's in your product and how to do this. So as an educator, or have you considered yourself an educator in that regard?
It's really funny. It's a fine line between running a business and being an educator. And to begin with, I was like, nope, I don't want to have a bar of that. We're running a business. Look on YouTube. And then arrogance, right? Yeah. And then it comes back and you're like, wait a second, now you have a responsibility. And all laughs aside, it's a responsibility I take very, very seriously. I think when you have a company, in my opinion, you have a responsibility to create a product and to present a product that is transparent, that is the best product that it can be at the right price. So we stick to those core values because it's important to me and it's important to my team to have that level of authenticity and transparency. It's not a gimmick. It's really who we are. And people see that. They see through the BS, So when you have these large companies that go, here's our naturals line, everyone's like, nah, no, not really. And if you've got a naturals line, what's wrong with your actual line? So those natural lines came and went for that reason, because you had these large pharmaceutical companies that are like, look, we're going natural. And then their customers went, wait, what's in your first product? We're having none of them. Yeah. And they started finding companies like ours. So now those other natural products got pulled off. If you've noticed, they came and went in the last few years, which is great for us. Two reasons. It started bringing awareness. It started reports like the Berkeley report that came out in July that showed even some organic brands have these toxins in them. And this is where the conversation is just really had some fuel put to the fire, and people are asking the questions. And thank you, social media, for this, because this is how people are educating themselves. People are becoming aware of these products. So I think the education has become now part and parcel of the business, and I love it because I really feel like, from a selfish point of view, if I can help somebody on their journey, help them make a better decision, selfishly, that's a very feel-good moment,
Yeah, well, no, I'm being aware of the research because we've had so little, as we all know, over the years into women's bodies. So at least with consumer products, it seems like research is able to happen a little bit more frequently, not just testing to see what the product is happening.
I know.
Are you, the medical literacy and whatnot too. You came from restaurant business into this world, like research studies on products and learning what you needed to about 100% cotton and warehouse spaces. Like, you're in a warehouse now, like running that. What is that like?
Yeah, all of the things. Learn the business. Get on YouTube.
Get on YouTube.
It's been a fantastic journey. So I'm actually from a super healthy family. My family had a health food store when I was a teenager, and I've been kind of surrounded with healthy people most of my life. And going back to Australia, where my parents, who are now like 80 and 87, healthy, tennis playing human beings, great advocates for life. Everyone's up in the morning and walking and living life. And I'm kind of fortunate that that's been my surround. And Gab's very similar in Brazil, healthy choices in her family, healthy choices, fruits, veggies. We're very used to this as our go-to. in terms of then creating a business, well, you have to learn, and you just learn.
Right.
Yes, we run our own supply chain. We run our own warehousing. There are all of the regulatory hoops you've got to jump through. The shipping, the licensing, the banking. And people forget, like, it's not just a product idea. It's an entire business. And then how do we keep that business chain and that supply chain ethical?
Right.
How do we ensure
Yes.
that every step along the way is being examined and being certified? And so with our products, we're ICEA certified. That ensures sustainability, which is the second pillar of our business, right? All the way through. And it also means that everyone employed or involved in that supply chain meets very strict international standards. Very important to us. Very important to us. So, and creating all that, all the nuances, it seems like here's a tampon, here a pack. No, there's a lot more, of course, to the business. But it's an interesting journey. There's never a dull moment.
It's the leadership we need.
Yes.
Yeah, to see that it's all possible.
Again, women need to be running the world, as we know. Gosh.
Yeah, and I think sometimes like having that confidence to do it.
Yeah.
Once again, I'm pretty fortunate. I've grown up with support, and that makes a big difference. So full credit to my family, and I went to great public schools in Australia that encouraged us to be kind of awesome. I sound like a cartoon character. Encouraged us to be awesome.
Yeah.
Because you called out the potential line of toxic positivity, you can go as close as you want now.
Yes.
I feel like that's the authenticity you talked about. It's
love it.
amazing.
Like a Lego character. That little song, everything is awesome.
It's awesome. Oh, I know. That's in my house. Yep. Mm-hmm.
I have my down days too. But because I think
you're follicular right now.
That's why. Great timing.
Yes.
Lucky this wasn't 3 days ago.
Yes. I feel
Right?
yes.
But yeah, running the business and starting a business, it comes with all those nuances, and a lot of trial and error and a lot of no's, and getting used to that. I think when you're creating a business that particularly focuses on products such as ours in terms of menstruation and everyone who gets their period, not everyone takes too seriously, but then a lot of people do. So I think we've had a lot of support and good encouragement that for me, the no's just become part of it. That's just part of life and doing business, right? You can't take it. You can't please everyone.
Right. You're not everyone's cup of tea. I say that to my clients all of the time, right? Like, everyone's not going to say yes in business, and everyone's not going to like you in outside of business, and that's okay.
You have enough friends, and that's the other thing. Yeah, you have enough friends. That's the other thing. You haven't got to be everyone's friend. You know, you just do business, try and create positive impact. That's what we really are passionate about. And you do have those days where you're like, everything's not so awesome. Like, can I do it? What am I even doing?
Well, but the true...
No.
I was just going to say that the Lego song is everything's awesome when you're part of a team. Mm-hmm. It's not just awesome in and of itself, but the teamwork to make things better definitely is incredible. Now, you mentioned Gabby. Is there anyone else you want to shout out on your team that's operating right now?
Yeah. Well, obviously, Kate, who set everything up, is a fantastic addition to a team. I have an amazing fulfillment team that make everything happen downstairs here in the warehouse. Awesome. And that is amazing. And we have freelancers that we use from all over the world. So we do a lot of outsourcing with our business. And I just feel kind of really privileged to have that opportunity to work with people and the technology to work with people worldwide. We have great advisors on the team as well. And we're a bootstrapped company, so we know what it's like to really hustle and grind and, kind of build something from the ground up without everyone throwing money at us. However, if you'd like to throw money at us, that's also fine. But when you don't have that, you just have to make do and you have to solve problems. And so the team is amazing. You're totally right. Sometimes I work at home, I'm like, this isn't much fun. However, when you start the business, there's a lot of loneliness. And I think people can underestimate that, is that in life there is a lot of loneliness, and it's also okay to feel lonely. It's also okay to feel defeated and sad. Just get back up.
As a menstruator, there's a lot of loneliness. The experience of
Yes.
menstruation is individual. Everyone's having their individual experience.
Totally. Totally. And I see that, like, we get a lot of customer feedback and customer service, and people are shouting or they're celebrating. And I'm like, there are a lot of emotions going on right now. Okie dokies. And I love it. I mean, anyone that reaches out to the company, I often call them back myself. I love that interaction, and I'll never stop that. And
love that.
often I won't say it's my company, but we'll just have a chat. And they're like, wait, wait, what? I recognize your voice, or I've seen you on YouTube, or I've seen you on TikTok. My claim to fame, TikTok. And,
Nice.
it's so fun. So there's that fun interaction part. And like you say, people going through menstruation, which is a long journey with a lot of ups and downs, to be able to have that interaction and that support. That's what I really try and give anybody who reaches out in any capacity.
Yeah, because reaching your audience, building those relationships takes time and consistency, flowing with your own emotions so you can make space for another flowster's emotions. I mean, where do you think, did you have any role models and how that looked for support?
Not really that come to mind apart from my support network. And I think taking a step back sometimes and looking at yourself when you've been in some kind of distress or needed help and how someone has supported you. That being said, that might not be how you need to show up for somebody else,
Right.
but I think trying to replicate what you see in others across the board is something that's very important to me. Sometimes how one of my neighbors here at the warehouses treat me, how somebody has helped my dad, how someone I see online is trying their very best to be helpful, and being kind. And I think that's something in this crazy, crazy moment in time that we're in that's really noticeably absent.
Yes.
Is just being kind to each other.
Yes.
And it sounds so sappy, but actually it's really simple. And it can make such a difference. We can get so caught up in messaging and being strong, and I'm all for that. Like, get them, like, go for it. You can also be kind.
Yes.
And you can also help people.
We need a I was gonna say a Mr. Rogers, a Mrs. Rogers is what we need right now to remind us that. Yeah.
And you see that when you travel a lot, and when you look outside, even it can be on a micro level. Travel outside your business, travel outside your family. You can walk a few blocks to be outside. It hasn't got to be overseas, to have a little bit more of a broader perspective. And just pause for a minute. Stop that reactivity, which I'm working on a daily basis, right? We all are. Just take a breath.
Right.
Think about this for a second.
Yeah. Notice and listen and reflect, and let's see what happens. You don't need to have an immediate response. And it is so easy to be kind, right? So easy.
Right. And talking about menstruation, like, what we're talking about, be cognizant of where you are in that cycle. And these days, tracking that, like, I was never into like kind of wearables. Now I've got like 2 and a phone, and I don't even know. Right. And I'm like, that's ridiculous. However, when you said, what phase are you in? I'm looking on my little phone. I am in. Like, why am I not looking at this more often? Because it's a direct reflection of putting yourself into maybe a day of like, today I'm not going to take on too much.
Right.
That can wait till tomorrow. And so you can create that ease, not just for you, but for everyone around you who's got to be with you in this journey, right?
Absolutely.
So,
being
now
kind,
I just got to
being
take that
kind to
advice.
yourself. Being kind to yourself, very important. The global mentality as a way to key into that kindness is all around is really nice to consider. That you from Australia, that your business partner from Brazil really like came together in China to begin something that now could improve our lives in America. It's nice, the global mentality.
Yeah.
Stay with it.
I love it. I mean, you learn so much from other people. And it's funny when it comes to business, a lot of people go to school to study business, and that's also great. But a lot of it is just learned, in my opinion, on the ground. Like, you want to
Yes.
be an entrepreneur, just start a business.
Yep.
Sell
yes.
something.
Yes. Yes.
Learn by doing.
Yeah. Just
Learn
jump
by
in, see
doing.
what
That's
happens,
best.
right?
But that's me. Yeah. I'm a very grassroots kind of like scrappy, put it together business person. And I love that. It might not be on track for a lot of other people who need everything planned.
Right.
And then often being an entrepreneur is not for you. It's risky.
Mhm.
Very highs, very highs, very low, as you know. And trying to also listen to your customers. So say, getting back to that, we all go through this journey of menstruation in a very, very different way. I see my role and my leadership team's role in the company as how can we create safe, effective products for all bodies.
Yes.
And that's something that challenges us on a daily basis. So at Tampon Tribe, we have quite a full range of tampons, pads, liners. We've got a new tweens line coming out, which is super exciting.
Ooh, that's very exciting.
Yay! And then we do cups, but we don't use silicone. We use a medical grade TPE, so safer for the body, safer for the planet. And we have period underwear. We have reusable pads. So we're always trying to iterate from the feedback we get from new innovation. How do we make this journey a little better for everyone in the planet? So that's kind of the mission that we roll on now.
It's so inspiring. It's so
Yes,
inspiring
thank
to
you.
know that you're leading the way, the ways you are.
Mhm.
We hear many patient stories on Flow about the pains that go through with the lack of care and the dismissal that goes on in doctor's office. It's just nice to hear the other end of the spectrum. Healthy menstruators are forging ahead in ways to make sure we have more options and more access.
Yes.
It's wonderful.
And I think it's something that we just have to acknowledge. Like you say, the health system might not change at the pace we want it to. So while it's catching
Right.
up, what can we do as a community, as individuals, to help each other in this kind of journey of education, on this journey of product creation, of accessibility? That's huge for us
Yes.
as well. How do we increase that accessibility to the education and also to the products themselves? So, I have some people reach out and say, the price point of organic. I'm like, I know. Organic materials are more expensive. So how do we then advocate on maybe some price breaks in importing, what's not perhaps happening right now? How do we advocate for tax breaks? So we're very fortunate in California. There is no tax on period products in California. So we are based in California. So everything we ship out of California, you don't pay tax on. We have a menstrual tax exemption here in California. And there are quite a few other states doing that too. And then how do we lobby to have these period products available everywhere?
Yes.
Everywhere there's a bathroom, right? So I actually have like a little sales team, outbound sales team, and we sell into like schools and city councils and universities and a lot of corporations, hotels are really on board now with giving organic and plastic-free products, not just a product, but let's get good products in. And that's happening at a rapid pace. So we love leading the charge in that arena. But how do we work together to ensure that tampons and pads are available everywhere for everyone who needs them, and they're not full of chemicals, right? So that's something that we, are on this little personal mission to get through.
I love that.
Pioneer.
Yeah, I don't think it's a little mission. I think it's an amazing. Yeah, you're like our little mission,
Mission.
Yeah,
You're right. See,
saving
that's
the
my
world,
self-deprecating Australian personality. I need to be more American here. You guys sell the message for me. We're on this mission.
Yeah, we've got this amazing life-altering mission, right?
Thank
Yeah,
you,
let me
Sarah.
add some American Detroit flair to that. Like, let's do that.
Saving the world, bigger and badder and better than ever. The biggest, baddest tampon tribe there ever was. It's just got to be bigger because we're in America.
Yeah.
Is it the seat? Like there was a time before toilet paper was in restrooms. Sure, I'm thinking in the Wild West, but like seat covers were added, paper towels were added, soap was added, tampons, products being added as not behind the paywall machine,
Right.
but just
Yeah.
available.
Well, there
That's
are
the
a
future.
lot of states now leading that charge,
Yes.
and some states are going one step further. And not only are they putting in legislation that these period products be available, but they're legislating that they must be organic and they must be plastic free. And that's very exciting for us. However, there's legislation and then there's the implementation.
Right.
So from a sales point of view, I get to speak to everyone who's buying the products, So I'll speak to a school superintendent or a hotel housekeeping. Hotels are a little different. Their budgets are pretty good. But when it comes to, say, a school district,
Yeah.
they're like, Jen, we would love this. We've had nothing added to our budget. In fact, we have to cut our budget.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm like, what can you afford?
Yeah.
Can I do this? And we have a strong give back as part of Tampon Tribe as well. So sometimes if a school says, you know what, Jem, this is all I can pay. So I'll look in what we have in our balance of giving. Can I bridge that gap for this school? Sometimes yes, sometimes I can't. Because I also can't make a loss. We are a business.
Right.
If we make a loss, we close. So then we have no impact. But we're halfway there with the legislation. Now we need to ensure that the actual people on the ground, the janitorial teams, the purchasing teams, the maintenance teams, because that's who's implementing the legislation. How do we ensure their budgets are enough to bring in the products that they need to bring in? Instead, they're cutting somewhere. So they have to cut something out of a maintenance budget or a school supplies budget. And I get it. And they're really toiling with this because they know they have to put something in. They're looking for the cheapest. They know it's not great. So that's our next step. So we have to also then advocate that they have a budget to put these quality products in. So young people, 10 years, 11 years, 12, all the way up to 40 years, can have toxic-free products because the toxins in the products, not only do they exacerbate pain when it comes to endometriosis or cramps, they increase your cycle. Yeah. So there are products in tampons that make you bleed longer.
Yep. No thanks. Oh, especially with our extreme menstruators. Like, no, I don't need anything else.
Right.
Yeah.
But you know what we
not.
do find is then when you're looking at extreme menstruators, and they switch to a chemical-free product, which is hard for the first couple of months because those ultra tampons that are laden with chemicals to catch more flow, you have to slowly weed them out of your body. It takes a few months for your body to overcome that toxicity. So in the interim, you've got to go through a significant number of organic products. However, what we hear is that within that first 3 months, those extreme flows reduce significantly. It's not the be all and end all, but we think it's worth a try.
Yeah.
That can you eliminate these chemicals from your body? Stick with it for a couple of months and then go, oh my goodness, I'm using half the number of organic tampons than I was using with the chemical tampons. And that's the experience that our customers report back to us.
Wow.
I got to tell you, I mean, it's so inspiring, and I'm just stuck on the implementation, which I don't want to get granular about, but the idea that it's just sitting, it's just like there's a bridge to connect between the fact that what you're talking about, the relief that could be possible for so many, which of course it takes like 3 cycles for the body to integrate new medicines and whatnot, so it would make sense. But just to get it to the people. I hope people listening are as inspired to get involved. If you're at your school and need access as a student, we've talked about that. If you want period leave for your PMDD, you can get it, but you need to find the person to make sure they're implementing the law that you get time off of school. So being aware and active and activated to get what you need is the message we want to leave our listeners. Is there anything else? This is so incredible.
I know, we could keep going and going.
I know, for hours. We'd love to follow everything you're doing and be part of what you're creating, to be part of the community you're creating of people sharing the education that's needed. That's what we do on Flow too. But yeah, anything else you want to share?
No, I love it. I mean, I think, as you mentioned earlier, just having the conversations more and more, and they really are getting more and more common. And it was interesting because when I started the company, I didn't really take into consideration how many of these conversations that I would be having about periods. Why I didn't think that, I'm not sure. Anyway, so I mean, I remember like the very first time I set up a little stall and everyone's coming at me with their period problems. I'm like, wait. Not a doctor. But I'm like, I better get myself educated up. I knew my situation. I knew people around me. And so, over these last 7-8 years, listening to people and having that conversation and talking to dads, talking to mums, talking to educators, talking to people, talking to partners.
Yes.
Everyone's concerned. As soon as you talk about toxins in tampons, toxins in pads, watch a parent's face. Mom, dad, in between. They're like, what? So it's just having these conversations and being aware. Yeah. And it's so interesting. There's this great anecdote. It was about a month or so ago. We had a large delivery come into the warehouse and the truck driver, he was a pretty stereotypical truck driver. He came in, he goes, what is it that you guys are doing? We're like, we do organic period products. He's like, oh my God, have you read that report? My wife and I were just talking about that. How can there be toxins in tampons? And he went on this full rant. I'm like, you are amazing. I'm like, would you like, and then he ran out. I said, let's get him some samples for, his partner. And he goes, oh, that'd be awesome. He goes, I just can't believe, that women and people with periods have had to put up with this for so long. It's unacceptable. I'm like, thank you. So often we underestimate who's having these conversations. They are being had, and they're being had across the spectrum. People are upset. They're outraged, as they should be. And so we have that power to have those conversations, to right this situation.
We will keep having them on Flow. Yes. I know listeners are going to want to know how to find Tampon Tribe products. We will have links in the show notes with how to get in touch with us, with Jennifer's team. Jennifer, thank you so much. Our mascot wants to say thank you too. Glad to see you here.
Mascot uterus, that's amazing. Thank you guys. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Vagina we have here on the show.
It's great.
Does your mascot have a name? I don't even know what to call your mascot.
Oh, great question. Well, no, it's an emotional support vagina.
It's a whole vagina. I could only see a bit of it on my screen.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. We have the whole situation. There we go. From ooh, and then sort of like inside.
Yeah, that's kind of what came on my screen was the inside. I'm like, oh, what's the
You're like, what? Yeah.
Thank you so much for the opportunity I had to share this space with you.
Oh, we loved it. Thank you so much. Fantastic.
And we'll see you next month on Flow. Flow is produced by Bloodstream Media. Big shout out to our creative director, Amy Board, and our editor, Kay Vermeil. New episodes of Flow will be available the second Thursday of every month.
Hey, that's the day after I start menstruating.
And thanks to our sponsor, Takeda, for their support of Flow.